Loneliness is one of God's most misunderstood tools, yet it shapes the heart profoundly. You may think loneliness means abandonment, but heaven often begins its deepest work there. When people leave, silence arrives, and suddenly your soul becomes painfully noticeable. In that quiet space, God finally has room to speak without competing voices. Loneliness removes distractions you once believed were essential for emotional survival. It exposes attachments built on fear instead of genuine spiritual dependence on God. God sometimes separates you from people to reconnect you with your forgotten identity. Loneliness becomes the sacred place where you rediscover your worth apart from approval. Because when you rely too much on others, you forget the strength inside you. God uses isolation as a refining fire, not a punishment for lacking faith. The silence you feel so intensely is actually preparation for spiritual maturity. God pulls you away so He can rebuild parts of your heart you neglected. You cannot hear God's whispers when life is crowded with noise and expectations. Loneliness softens the hardened places and exposes wounds needing divine healing. God shapes your compassion during lonely seasons because empathy grows in quiet suffering. People may misunderstand your isolation, but God sees the transformation happening internally. You learn emotional resilience when no one else is available to comfort you. God becomes your anchor when human anchors fail to reach your deepest depths. Loneliness teaches you to receive love without chasing approval or begging for attention. It separates superficial connections from the relationships intended to remain long-term. God removes people to reveal who truly belongs in your destiny. Some connections cannot stay because they would limit who you are becoming. Isolation reveals which attachments were temporary lessons rather than lifelong companions. God protects your calling by pruning relationships that weaken your spiritual growth. Loneliness forces you to confront emotions you buried beneath constant activity. Painful honesty creates space for genuine healing and internal restoration. God uses these quiet seasons to break cycles you couldn't break alone. Sometimes you must sit with discomfort before you can rise transformed. The version of you emerging from loneliness is stronger than you imagine. God strips away old identities to rebuild a heart anchored in Him alone. Isolation teaches you that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. You start discovering presence in the silence instead of fear in the emptiness. God whispers truths in loneliness that you would ignore during busy seasons. These truths become foundations for the next chapter He is writing. Loneliness grows clarity. You begin distinguishing God's voice from your emotions. The more you listen, the more your spirit becomes sensitive to divine direction. God is strengthening your hearing before sending you into your next assignment. Your heart becomes more obedient when it learns to trust without immediate reassurance. Loneliness becomes the classroom where faith matures beyond emotional dependence. You learn to walk spiritually even when visible support disappears temporarily. God prepares you to stand firm without collapsing under pressure or uncertainty. Strength is not built in crowds. It is formed in quiet, unseen places. God hides you for a season to reveal you in the right moment. Hidden seasons protect you from premature exposure that could harm your purpose. People may think nothing is happening, but God sees how deeply you are growing. Every lonely night is molding you into someone capable of carrying greater responsibility. Loneliness cleanses your priorities and realigns your desires with God's will. You stop chasing validation and start pursuing genuine spiritual wholeness. Loneliness teaches you to recognize the difference between emotional hunger and divine calling. God removes emotional noise to reveal what your spirit truly needs. When the heart quiets, God begins rewriting stories you thought were finished. He restores parts of you that pain convinced you are permanently broken. Loneliness deepens gratitude for relationships built on authenticity rather than convenience. The next people entering your life will match who you are becoming. God is preparing healthier connections that align with your healed identity. You will not settle for emotional crumbs once God restores your self-worth. The loneliness you hate is actually preparing you for healthier love. God is teaching you to choose alignment over attachment, purpose over comfort. The more your heart heals, the more selective your spirit becomes. Not everyone deserves access to the new version God is forming. Loneliness becomes a filter, separating who drains you from who strengthens you. God is preserving energy for relationships meant to build your destiny. Isolation destroys the illusion that you need people more than you need God. You discover your value independent of who stays or who leaves. God is teaching you that you are whole, even when walking alone. You learn to trust His guidance more deeply in seasons without companionship. Loneliness prepares you for seasons requiring spiritual independence and courage. God will eventually send the right people at the right time. Until then, He fills the empty spaces with His presence. He comforts, strengthens, corrects, and transforms you in ways crowds cannot. The loneliness you feel is a sacred invitation to intimacy with God. Healing begins when you stop resisting and start listening to heaven's whispers. God breaks your dependence on people to restore dependence on His presence. What looks like isolation is spiritual realignment preparing you for purpose. Your heart is being shaped to love deeper, forgive quicker, and stand stronger. God is crafting resilience within you that future challenges will never break. Soon, you will step out of this season wiser, calmer, more grounded. You will carry peace that does not depend on company or environment. God is using loneliness to build a heart capable of sustaining destiny. And when He completes this work, the loneliness will no longer rule you. You will walk confidently knowing God never left you, not even for a second. You will see purpose in the silence, strength in the solitude, peace in the stillness. The season you feared will become the season that transformed you most. You are not abandoned. You are being refined, protected, and prepared. God is shaping you for greater things than you can currently imagine. Your heart will come out of this season healed, strengthened, and awakened. God is with you now, even in the loneliness shaping your destiny. And He is guiding your steps toward a future filled with restored joy. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the God writing your transformation. And if this message touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to support the channel.